Fianna Fáil senators for bringing this important motion before us here tonight. Ciarán, we're at a rare moment in the evolving political history of our nation, a rare moment which encompasses centuries of history, centuries of injustice, centuries of interference in the affairs of our people, centuries of betrayal by British governments motivated by the most base of instincts, self-interest, which has resulted in a litany of broken promises, broken treaties between the people of this country and the British government. Boris Johnson is but the latest occupant of 10 Downing Street to indulge himself in self-serving politics at the expense of the people of Ireland, irrespective of their political allegiances. It matters little to Johnson and those around him that his actions are undermining the most important peace treaty that has ever been signed by the representatives of the people of Ireland and the British government. It matters little to him that peace in our country, which is now a way of life, especially for the people of the North, is threatened by his actions as he systematically, through the Internal Market Bill, strips the withdrawal agreement back to the bone and in doing so endangers the very existence of the GFA. Johnson and his ilk have no sense of the difference the Good Friday Agreement has made to living in the North for me and my generation, compared to my parents' and grandparents' generation, who lived constantly in fear of the armed forces of the state and their proxies, and the humiliation of being treated as second-class citizens in the land of their birth. The GFA not only brought peace to Ireland, its political structures, the All-Ireland Ministerial Council, the Executive and Assembly and the East-West institutions are creating a new political culture where dialogue, discussion and compromise are centre stage. That new political culture faces erosion if the British government is successful in its attempts to either renegotiate the withdrawal agreement and protocol or crisis out of the EU. What the British government is seeking in its negotiations with the EU, a uniquely privileged non-membership trade deal without responsibility or costs, is simply not on offer. But the British government's Internal Market Bill doesn't just threaten the GFA and the withdrawal agreement, it also breaks international law and violates international treaties. And it does so in a very public way, as we saw with the British Secretary of State Brandon Lewis in the House of Commons just a few weeks ago. The bill also represents a serious attack on the powers of all of the GFA's institutions, Strand 1, 2 and 3. It invests these powers in the British Secretary of State, thereby creating an undemocratic environment in which the British government can unilaterally and arbitrarily impose its rules and regulations regardless of the democratic decisions of the Assembly and the Executive. Boris Johnson's parade of unchecked power at Westminster has provoked a storm of international criticism, including the US, the EU and indeed here at home. The response to the motion before the Seanad from Fianna Fáil should reflect the united opposition Johnson is facing in the US, the EU and elsewhere. And this government, this chamber and indeed the Dáil chamber need to be constantly alert to the deceitful and devious manoeuvres of the British government when it comes to Irish affairs and act as one in response. Earlier this week, as Senator Norris rightly said, the Assembly in the North passed a similar motion calling for the withdrawal of the Internal Market Bill and adherence to the withdrawal agreement and Irish protocols. The British government has been whittling away at the provisions of the GFA for years, while deliberately refusing to fully implement that agreement. The Irish government must continue, Minister, to mobilise support in the US and in the EU with vigour and determination. In doing so, it will have Sinn Féin support in the Oireachtas and elsewhere. No one can afford to take their eye off the North until the Good Friday Agreement is safe, secure and fully implemented and the Internal Market Bill is binned. And we must always remember that there is a way out of all of this. There is a way for the North to get back to the EU. That route is laid out in the Good Friday Agreement, which everyone rightly supports and argues we must defend and protect to the hilt. Well, if that's the case, then we must protect and defend and implement all of the Good Friday Agreement. The agreement didn't settle the constitutional question, Minister, rather it asks us the constitutional question. To pursue this legitimate and democratic pathway off the disastrous Tory Brexit agenda back into the EU and determining our own future for ourselves should never be branded as divisive. It's actually the opposite. It's healthy, it's positive, and my God, it has never been more necessary.
Thank you very much. Senator McCallion.
Ciarán.